Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to episode 4 of Dream.Dua.Do. My name is Hannah and I am so grateful that you're joining me today. And I have got an amazing interview for you. I think you're going to love it, especially if you're single. Girl, you gotta take some time out for this one. We're gonna be talking about how to manifest your dream husband. Yes, you heard it right. We're going to be talking to Shaima Kraba, and she's a mentor and a coach for, other people in their writing and business idea journey. And she's also a storyteller. And her mission is to inspire others to cultivate their story, to preserve it and produce it. And she'll be giving us some specific tangible tools to use when you feel like, oh my god, where my husband at though, where is he hiding? And Allahuma barik, we're all gonna say Allahuma barik because she also met and married her absolute dream husband after many years of making dua, and she had to overcome a lot of limiting beliefs and she had to do the inner work, and that's what we're gonna be talking today. She'll be giving us some powerful, practical tips that will really help you in the journey of manifesting your dream husband. I cannot wait for you to hear it, what she has to say. So let's get it. Enjoy. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Dream.Dua.Do podcast. My name is Hannah. I'm your host and I'm so happy you're here. If you're a Muslim woman wanting to level up and create a life that you love, a life that is purposeful, a life that is full of barakah, then Dream.Dua.Do is for you. Whether you're a student or you have a 9 to 5 job or you're a boss babe simply wanting to level up and make your dreams a reality, this podcast will help you do it, inshallah. I'm your host, Hannah, and again, I'm so happy you're here. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Dream.Dua.Do podcast. Shaima, I am so excited to have you here. No idea, honestly, I have been looking forward to this podcast episode with you for so long. So, a little back. Yeah, so a little backstory. Me and Shaima, where did we meet? You tell the story.
Okay, we actually met online. I feel like everybody meets online nowadays, right? But we met online actually on Visionaire Ramadan 2020. That's where we met.
Yeah,
yes.
And Visionaire Ramadan isn't.
I feel like actually you should say the other part of the story. That's where I was, but I think we should hear your side and how you stumbled on me, because there was hundreds of people, if not, I think it's 1,000 or something like that were in that group. So
yes,
I'm surprised you even fell on me. I'd like to know how you stumbled on me.
Oh my god! Okay, guys, buckle up. Okay, buckle up, guys. So Shaima, she is absolutely a gem. Allahuma barik. So Visionary 2020 is like an was it 2020? It was Ramadan. It was Visionary Ramadan.
Yeah.
And that is an online program by Mohammed Al-Sharif. And we have a Facebook group. So there's a lot of people from all over the world. And we all get on the Facebook group and get to know each other. We make some lives. And Shaima did a live. And what a life that was, guys. Listen, I was just one morning eating my breakfast, drinking my coffee. I was in my kitchen. And then, subhanAllah, guys, you have to imagine there are 1,000 people in that Facebook group, okay? The possibility of me stumbling on her Facebook Live, trust me, that was fate. So... And then she started talking. I was like, okay. And you were so vulnerable at that. The first few seconds, you were talking about how many times you've tried to do that Facebook Live. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cute. I can relate, And then you were talking about, you were so kind of nervous to be on there. And then at the same time, you were so funny. You were so funny. I literally enjoyed watching. I didn't know, guys, what the what the Facebook Live would be about. It's literally the topic that we're gonna talk about. But she was just so funny, so natural. I was like, who is this person? Allahuma barik. And why is she nervous to be like to go on a live? Because she's like a natural. I saw like that you have like something that you have to share with the world. Like without like watching all of it was 1 hour, guys. I watched was it 1 hour? I think so. I think your first...
No, it was 30 minutes. 30 minutes. It was right under the 30-minute mark. Yeah.
Mashallah. So I've watched the whole video, guys. And at the end of the video, I cried. Like, you were... No, Shaima, really. And I'm not going to tell you guys, like, what the whole, life was about. Because obviously we're going to talk about this. But that's when I think after like few weeks I reached out. I was like, you know what, this sister, she touched my heart. I feel like so many people have to listen to her story, because the way you were telling it, you were so open, so vulnerable, so authentic. I was like, Allahuma barik.
Thank you. I think you said the story way better. MashaAllah.
Oh my God, so I'm so excited. So who are you, Shaima, and what makes you unique? Tell us.
Oh man, that was one of the questions. And I remember I was like, man, what can I say about myself that is unique? Okay. Okay, who I am. Okay, who am I? Okay, my name is Shaima, and I come from Algerian parents. I was born and raised in Canada. Basically, my life is like a mosaic. I've traveled different parts of the world, and I've also have done very different jobs, from like sales to security, like in like essentially like a loss prevention officer, which is like to arrest people for stealing grocery store. So it's just like at one point I was going to pursue policing and law enforcement, and that was something I was like super stringent on. I was like, oh, I'm going to do this, but ultimately it all kind of just went back to the core thing that I kept like avoiding and like running away from, and that's writing, publications, publishing, and mentoring and coaching others in their journey, in their writing journey, in their business idea journey. So I would say when somebody tells me what is it that I do, I think the biggest thing that I've come to do and finally own it, like own that I am, be like, you know what, guys, I'm a storyteller. That's exactly what I am,
Yes.
So it's like, wait, like, does that thing pay? Well, it pays with people's laughters, and it pays with people's tears, and the fact that it moves them, and whatever else comes with it is just bonus. You know what I mean? But ultimately, my life mission is to inspire others, to cultivate their stories, preserve it, and produce it. That's like my goal, my legacy, that I want to do, inshallah. So thank you for reaching out.
Oh my.
So either be it a live or in a book, whatever it may be, that's my thing.
MashaAllah. You know what? You actually hit the nail. What do you say? What is the word? Yes, because you're a storyteller. I think that is what attracted me to you, or no, that's not what attracted me. That's what kept me in your video, like the way you were telling the story. I was just laughing. I was so amused. At the end, I was crying. Like, so all the emotions, they were all there. So, Allahuma barik, Allahuma barik. Yeah. So, in the Instagram live, you were talking about how you manifested your dream husband. Oh my God! Listen, Shaima. This story is just Allahuma barik, and we're not just going to talk about the story. We're going to talk about many more things, but I feel like this topic is so important because, yes, we don't need to settle for just somebody, who comes around. But, this whole concept of like having a dream husband is, for some people are like, girl, calm down. What do you mean dream husband? Why are you saying dream husband? That does not exist. Why don't you just come back to reality and, just take, just take whatever, not whatever, but just kind of like calm down.
Yeah.
But you did manifest your dream husband. So tell us about that, Allahuma barik.
Before I get into that, I want to address something that you said. I think is super critical. And the thing is, a lot of the sisters and brothers, you say, "Oh, let's go back to reality. This is just what it is. This is the reality of things." It's funny, like that's the mindset, but yet what they really wish in their heart is something better. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They're just afraid to, I guess, hope for it. Because I did a live recently in our group about false hope versus hope. And I feel like a lot of people have, they attribute not having an immediate answer as if God is rejecting them, and that basically all that hope was for nothing. So it was basically like I have false hope in God, essentially. They don't realize that. So they take it as, no answer is an answer, and the answer is no. Or at least just tell me it's no, so I can just give up and just just me pull off the Band-Aid. Let me just, so it's one of the two, right? So I think it's really important to, because I've been there. I said it in that video on Facebook Live, right? I was like, guys, I've been there. I realized, mentally, logically, I, understood, Allah. And yes, he could do all these amazing things. And Allah, I mean God, right, in Arabic. But I think emotionally, my tawakkul game was super weak, And I was I remember saying this is something that's not exactly something I'm proud to admit, but I think at the end of the day, we all go through that. We all go through those iman highs and iman lows, And I think that was the most crucial point is that sometimes, you ask the best from Allah and you hope for the best from Allah, but Allah, to get you to the best, he wants to get you close to him, But sometimes the greater your dream, the greater this, Allah wants you to get close to him first, and then, so that you're prepared for whatever is to come, because you can't get it or receive it without him by your side. And when you do, it just doesn't, there's just a lot of things that don't work out with it. That's just been my experience for myself and for those that, I've seen and witnessed their experiences and stuff like that. So, so I guess through the other questions you're going to ask, we're going to find out more about how that all happened and how that all went down.
Yeah. Allahumma barik. This is such an important point that you just addressed. First, when we talk about this whole concept of ihsan, and excellence and being excellent at things, that requires you to be ihsan with Allah. That requires you to be the best with Allah and be the closest that you can be, and in worship, of course, and have this taqwa and this, not only taqwa, but this ihsan when worshiping him. And this whole concept of when you want to become the best version of yourself, that means to get to know Allah and literally become the closest to him. Because when you try to do big things in the world, that requires you doing all that while facing him.
100%. And one of the things that I said in my live, it was a couple of days ago, I said, the issue is a lot of girls this experience changed me, or a guy would say, never again, or whatever. It's so hard to fight off a situation that would form you to be more bitter instead of better. It's very hard. You have a lot of self-regulating, and it could take weeks, it could take months, it might even take a couple of years, honestly. You're just I'm feeling so salty right now. It is hard. And some days you're feeling strong and you're feeling good, and some days you're feeling nah, man, this is getting to me. And I think a lot of the issues, the reason why I'm bringing this up is that a lot of people have gone through very painful experiences when it comes to love. Say love hurts. I'm no, love doesn't hurt. The lack of love hurts. And it's so important to be introspective. And I think that's one of the biggest message is to really, the art of tadabbur is something that is constantly mentioned in the Quran, right? Allah, as I like tadabbur in the Quran, do not reflect. Why does Allah always constantly ask us to reflect? He's always challenging your intellect, and he's challenging you to think outside the box. Because in doing that, in reflecting on his words and reflecting on his creation, you will know more about yourself and who you are, and what your place is in this world. So the act of tadabbur, the act of reflection is so important, because when you are introspective, you learn more about who you are and what you want and what you need versus what everybody is telling you that you should need and want. You don't realize you have all those voices that drown out, like they're just drowning, and so I was talking about how, what if a situation is designed to change you, but for the better? What if you were born a caterpillar, but you were destined to be a butterfly? And the darkness that you went through is that cocoon, right? That squeezing the dark, but you're like a tree hugging caterpillar. You're so used to, being on the tree. It's stable. It's what you know. It's where you feel safe, in the crevices of the tree and stuff. And then you may think, oh, but I'm not really the tree. I'm not really on the trunk. I kind of veered off on my own path, and I took a branch. But how did you not know that that branch was meant to lead you to your cocoon? You were meant to go through that darkness, and you were meant to go through whatever it was that you needed to go through, and now you earned your wings. But you still had that caterpillar mindset because you're afraid to use your wings, because by flying, you no longer have solid ground where, it's uncertain. But when you fly, you get to see a whole new world, and that will shape you and change you, And I think I read somewhere like a butterfly lasts for like 24 hours. I think it dies after it becomes a butterfly. But I think the metaphor I would use with that is that life is so short, So whatever it is that you're going to go, like once you earn your wings, this dunya is short, So flap your wings that you earned and take in the world's experience, even if it's 24 hours. But you got to live that, and you got to experience that. But at least when you die a butterfly, not a caterpillar. You know what I mean? So 24 hours for a butterfly might be, 70, 80, 90 years, 100 years, whatever for us. Whatever that looks like. Everybody's different. Everybody's got different timelines. But, let that be your thing, But yeah, so that's been, I guess what I want to say is that a lot of us, we earned our wings, but we're afraid to use them, And we go through all this stuff because we're afraid to get hurt. It's something like we want to go back into our cooking. We want to go back. Like it's just too painful to get hurt, So you want to believe. It's not that you don't want to believe in love. You want to believe that you want to believe in a love that is not going to hurt you, But I think it was Bob Marley that said this. He said things like, everyone in life will disappoint you. Everybody. And I'm sure you'll be the person that's disappointing everybody else too. But he said, everybody in life will disappoint you. It's a matter of seeing who's worth that disappointment. No one's going to be perfect in life. You're getting hurt is just part of the process, Like, think about it this way. Like, I did mixed martial arts, okay? I got to a second degree brown belt. So, guess what? When we're training, we're just taking hit after hit. Like, literally. If you think about what it's like to be a mixed martial artist, like, all you're doing is learning how to take a hit. That's literally what it is. Like, actually how to block and deflect it. But if it hits you, you know how to take the hit. Basically prepared to take it. You have your arms up, you have your belly tight. So if somebody tries to, sucker punch you in the belly, it's not going to hurt as much because your belly was tight. So it kind of was prepared for that punch. It's not going to hurt as much as if you didn't tighten your belly. And it's interesting because the whole idea is that you're training like your number two, so that when you go to a tournament, just to get literally hit, the idea is to be number one, so that you don't get hit as much. You learn from every hit. You know what I mean? Like, I think, was it a Chinese proverb? It's like, fall down 7, get up 8. You just don't stop. Life is that's just what it is. It's a fact. I think if you embrace it, it takes the sting out of the bite, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So, love isn't painful. Love is beautiful. Love is a verb. Love is action. Loving actions is what creates that feeling. I think it's when people stop the act of love is when it hurts. So that's what it is. And the biggest thing is that sometimes that situation was designed to prepare you for whatever it is that you're meant to be with. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of it is that when we go into relationships, we go into it to fulfill our own needs and desires. It's like that sense of belonging, that sense of like wanting to connect. And it hurts when we take a lot out of the equation, But when you put a lot in the equation, it's what it really does. It is the game changer. And it's so easy to knock on something that you haven't experienced, So, I didn't blah, blah, blah. I went to the imam to hook it up. I'm like, I don't even think you knew that he was in there until the chef said it. And even then, it's like your intent was the whole time was just like, yo, when this thing is going to get done, like, I could actually like give him a hug or give her a hug, you know, or whatever, you know, like. So there's a difference when you involve Allah from the very beginning and everything, you know, because you know that if someone tries to hurt you, Allah's got your back. He's right there. Allah's always. The thing is that we just ignore him. That's the thing. He's like a background. We're just like, it's like the sky. Do you like focus on the sky? You walk on the ground. You just like ignore your surroundings. You know, you just go on these things like day by day, like unless something serves you. You know, and so that's the problem, because it's interesting because Allah will tell you to reflect on the sky, you know, or the night or the mountains. You know, these are things we take for granted. They're just there like as if there's some kind of like decoration that we don't look at. You know what I mean? But Allah asks you to reflect for a reason, you know? Allah's always there. Allah's always watching. It's just a matter of whether you're going to tune in or what, you know? I said it recently. I said it was like, it was in one of my favorite movies. It was like a Cinderella story. And the guy tells her, he's like, maybe you're just looking, but not really seeing. Or maybe that was the girl that said it. I think it was Hilary Duff that said it. But maybe you're looking, but not really seeing. And that hit deep because sometimes you can look around, but you're not really seeing unless you focus. To see, it requires focus, you know? So, you know, it's one thing to know, to have knowledge that Allah is there. Oh yeah, he's always there. What do you mean? But it's different when you have taqwa, which is God consciousness, and you're aware. Because now you're focused, knowing that he's there. You're tuning in. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing if you're listening and hearing. You can listen. You go to the mall and hear like 50 million sounds of, you know, whatever. But if you really focus and zone in, you can kind of mute everything out and focus on that one sound, right? So how are we doing that with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in everything that we do, and especially when it comes to something as serious as marriage? Because the goal is to marry somebody for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The idea is, you know, I think it was Yasmin Mujahid that said this, is that the goal is to get, the constant goal for everybody is to find ways to get closer to him. Like, think about it this way. Like, I read this once. It's like, can you imagine? It's like, if a girl was to pursue God the way she pursued a man, what her life would look like. It's so true, because, you know, sometimes like a guy can catch your eye, you're like, you know, and sometimes you go into like your cyber stalking mode and you're like, oh my God, what's this Facebook? What's this? What was you know, does your girlfriend have? Imagine going through all of that. You know what I mean? Just to know more about him. You're like so curious because you're so like, oh my gosh, like what, like you're just imagining this idea, this life of what this person could potentially do for you, right? But you don't realize that you end up building these castles in the skies with no substantial anything, and you end up breaking your own heart because you built up this expectation and false dream, right? But subhanAllah, like, imagine if we took the effort to like actually want to get to know Allah with that like level of interest, you know, constantly on your mind. This guy's constantly, you know, like you're just suddenly very happy, skipping like, you know, like through the hills, whatever, like Heidi or whatever, so I can picture it in my head. But you know what I mean? Like, and I'm saying this to myself first, but I'm just saying, like, you know, because we've all been there. But I'm just saying, like, I remember hearing that quote, reading it, and it just hit deep. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so true. You know, imagine if we did that. And so, how much different would our life be? You know. And sometimes also that is, you know, that's the other thing too, is that, you know, we make istihara asking Allah, you know, to guide us in our decision, and no is also an answer. Yeah. You know, it is an answer, because you asked him to tell you if this is the right person, you know, and it's so hard for us to take a no. You know, we take it so personal. It becomes like a sense of like, we attach that no and rejection to our worth somehow, some way, because that's the society we live in. You know, we're very dismissive. We're very like judgy, very like instant gratification. We just don't value things because it's so replaceable. It's not even a matter of getting fixed. Why should I fix something? I just get a new iPhone. Like, why should I get this if I can get this? You know what I mean? Like, even our music is disgusting. Like, like, I remember with this one chef, he was talking about how there was this one artist who literally is like, leave your girlfriend. I can give you something so much better. Like, literally, like, that's the world that it's just become so like shallow. You know, and we want something deep and meaningful, but we live in such a shallow world that we don't know. We just know how, like, you know, when you're in the shallow end of a pool, you just have to stand there. It doesn't require you to do any effort. But to go into the deep end, you need to have a skill set. You can't just go into the deep end; you'll drown. You know what I mean? You have to learn how to swim. So if you're trying to have a deep and meaningful connection, you're going to have to learn and train yourself on how to do that. So when you get there, you'll know how to swim. You'll know how to keep yourself afloat. You know what I mean? So kind of went off on a tangent, but that's been like some of the things that have really deeply affected me, and I've taken those in and internalized those things, and it was a journey for me, you know, to get there. And I feel like that's the place that Allah wanted me to get to, so that I could better appreciate and realize, you know, and recognize who that husband is, right?
Yes.
I'm not gonna do that.
Mashallah.
You know? Yeah.
You said so many interesting points. You were like kind of starting off with saying like, hey, like in order to attract that specific person, you need to get to know yourself. Like, who are you, first of all, and really be introspective, because I think that's a lot of the times, you know, we forget about that. Like, who are we, first of all? Like, get to know yourself, because that's when you will literally have the sight to recognize him. The way you said it, I could only see him when I first got to know myself, when I have established that skill set, you know, and because you have to prepare yourself. You can't like just expect, you know, to go into that whole journey and without this. I love the metaphor that you have used that, you know, the martial arts, that you have to, what did you say? Squeeze your squeeze your belly, right? Yeah. I love that. Well, I love that metaphor. Like, you have to squeeze your belly, because like, you know, you will like having this mentality of, oh my god, I'm scared, love hurts. Yes, habibi, but how about you learn how to deal with it, you know, how to, when it comes around, that you can face it much better. And that, I love that whole point of like rejection, because I have been talking yesterday actually about with a sister about this. Rejection is just a redirection. It's not something that you know, have to kind of put on yourself and be like, oh my god, does it have to do with me? No, habibi, listen, there's Allah who loves you more than your mother, who's telling you this specific person is not for you. Like, this is just a redirect. And I think it's just a mindset shift that we have to make, to kind of say like, okay, this is not about me. Rejection is not about me. It is literally a redirection. Just having this, it frees you. It frees you from like, subhanallah, like this negative feelings, first of all. And it makes the whole process of getting to know somebody much easier, because if it doesn't work with somebody, you'll just be like, you know, that's okay. Khair inshallah. Like, you know, nice meeting you. Next one, right? Like, you know, get it, like, this whole process of getting to know somebody, like, of course, the first one you meet will not be Prince Charming, will not be, you know, maybe it is sometimes, you know, then you're a little lucky one. Allahuma barik. You know, I know many stories where that has been the case, but, you know, sometimes you will have to, you know, go through the whole process and, you know, be redirected.
You know what it is? SubhanAllah, like, I just thought of two metaphors in my head, but the first one is, you know, sometimes Allah closes a door, okay?
Yes.
And He opens up a different one. But you can't see that door because you're too busy looking back at that door. And not only is it locked and closed, girl's pulling out her breaking tools trying to, like, undo the lock. Like, it clearly closes, like, you're out, like, let it go. But you don't, because you have all these things that's like, and then somehow you bring that to Allah, like, Allah, you know how much I wanted this. Like, I remember a girl telling me, why can't Allah just let me make up my mistakes? Why is He holding me back? I'm like, because then guess what? When you get this person and he screws you over, then who are you gonna blame? Allah knew he was you know, but it comes from pain, it comes from anger. It's like, I need to express that. I'm like, you need to be careful how we talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right?
Yeah.
It's very important. Okay, so the second metaphor, what was I gonna say was, yeah, so like, it's like an elevator, right? Okay, so there's a few metaphors with that one, like a few things. Sometimes you rush towards the elevator and you miss it. And you think, oh, I missed out on this, you know, guy, because you weren't meant to be on that ride. You know what I mean? Somebody else was meant to be on it, and they got on it and went to whatever, you know, destination they needed to go to. And sometimes, you know, like, what happens is the doors are closed and you try to pry them open. But what happens if you try to pry it open and you try to jump in? It literally just jumps into like a dark space. It's not, and it's like to your demise. And that's literally what it is. It's like, you're just not meant to go on that one elevator. You try to pry it open, you fall into this deep dark abyss, and hopefully it was like the lobby, so it's not really that far of a hit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's the problem. And but the thing about the elevator is that it's always gonna come back. It's still gonna open the doors again. You know what I mean? So it's the same idea. There is, sometimes it's just like, oh, this is the only person I've ever connected with, and all these things. Like, it's the only person you've ever connected with now. I'm like, why don't you? It was like one of the things I mentioned in my life too was that there was this one girl this one old lady that she worked with, told her, whatever you like or you looked at and you noticed, like, let's say, and it was pertaining to a guy that she liked, she said, yeah, you like these certain qualities about him. She's like, it's just God's way of showing you that it exists, So if Allah, like, if God made it, then it exists, it can be made again, right? Or it's in somewhere else and someone better. And when you were talking about how you prepare yourself, you get to know yourself and be introspective. A lot of people are like, oh, but I need to date to, like, know what I like. The guy trying to get to know you. If you don't know yourself, like, what the heck is he gonna know? Like, you know what I mean? Yes. You don't need somebody else to know who you are. You literally have daily interactions. You have daily interactions with your siblings, your parents. If you have, if you have parents, of course, you don't have siblings, with other humans. I'm sure you're interacting with humans every single day. There are things that you know you like and things you don't know you like, and some things that you will discover about yourself later on, and that's just me through tests and tribulations, or through ease. You'll notice something about yourself. There's always a learning point for yourself. If you really take to learn who you are, so I also think, like, date yourself,
Yes.
Take your own stuff out. You know what I mean? Yes, like, I've taken myself out all the time, you know what I mean? So, like, just literally take yourself out and you'll see yourself in different scenarios, in school, at work, with, tough people, not like you get all the time.
Yes.
You actually know so much about yourself. You're just not tuning in. You know what I mean? You're literally not tuning in. So that's, like, it's super critical.
Yes.
Super critical. You can't just take the time to know about yourself. You're not going to know how to learn somebody else.
Yes.
Think it this way. Like, the time you take to learn about you will give you the tools to know how to learn and, like, talk to that person. At the end of the day, Allah created you in pairs. Which means the more you know about yourself, the more you're going to know who your pair is, because your pair means you're very alike, right?
Yes.
So it'll actually be in your own best benefit,
Yes. Yes.
So
I love that point. And it is so critical in order to, like, to navigate this whole journey of, like, attracting your dream husband. It is, like, crucial to know who you are and to literally take that time to get to know yourself. Like, take that time, because it is an investment. It is such a big investment in getting to know yourself, because you don't have to, go through the whole journey of, like, heartbreak and meeting so many men, because it is exhausting. Let's just, put it out there. Because when you know yourself, you will know real quick if you know how home feels to you. Like, you have this feeling already, like, if you are having fun dating yourself, if you're having fun and living your best life right now, if you have this mentality, how does it feel? How does it feel to be with my dream husband? How do you want to feel when he's with you? How do you want him to treat you? If you know these things, if you know these feelings, if you know these adjectives, all these things, when you meet him, you will know. And if you meet somebody else and, like, get to know him, you will trust me, you will know really, really quick that this person is not the one, because you know how the one feels. And this is why it's so important to take some time and write it down. Like, write a manifesto, write down, how does your dream husband, what kind of adjectives, does he have? How do you want to be treated? How do you want to feel? How do you want the relationship to look like? This is something that you have to invest in. Write it down, take some time, and trust me, it will not just be, a evening or a afternoon. This will take some time, and maybe you have to, re-edit it, whenever you get to know yourself, you'll be like, hey, what, actually, that doesn't serve me no more. I want to kind of live that life, and so he has to be, maybe very flexible as well, Maybe I want to have a guy who is, also very entrepreneurial, because I have that mindset, So yes. you will get, if you know what you want, if you in life, then it's much, much easier to attract that kind of person into your life.
100%. 100%. You nailed it. So
I love it. So let's talk about like the mental hurdles that you had to overcome because like I feel like subhanallah, this is something that always comes up. Like, okay, I know myself. Okay, I got the manifesto. I've written it all down. Now we have this like mental hurdles and like, okay, girl, you dreamed. Okay, you did your part. You're visualizing, you know how he looks like. But what about like doing your part, eh? Because like the Prophet Sallallahu said, to have tawakkul, like of course, but also tie your camel.
Yes, that is very true. Very true. So one of the biggest mental hurdles um, was pride, actually. I don't want to admit that, but it's true. It's true. And I see that problem with a lot of women. We're very, very prideful. It's like somehow, and I'm talking not the millennials, like, and by millennials, I mean anybody really like 95 and after probably, but I'm talking like, I'm a 91 baby, but like, I just feel like any one of us in the early 90s, um, 80s, we're not used to the online world. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like we don't meet people like that. Wasn't how we were raised, even in school and stuff. That wasn't never a thing. Like you meet somebody online. Actually, I was raised. You don't meet someone online. That's actually dangerous. You know what I mean? Like it's so interesting because we go into a world now like everything is online, and for me, it was also associated with like somehow you're cheapening your value. Like I don't even know who came up with that lie, but like it's literally ingrained in the culture. It's like,
Mm.
like how are you gonna go like sorry, I'm just laughing because I just remember my friend's mom, like she's Somali. Lady, what do you say? I like. She's like, I'm not like you'll just like literally. I just remember her mom. I was like I'm dying. But yeah, like like just going on that somehow it just equated like you're somehow putting your value down, you
Mm.
know, like it's such a convoluted thing. But also for me it was also like a concern, danger based concern where it's just like I think I was trying to use that to weasel myself out of the real like 80% reason is that like that pride that somehow you're cheapening yourself to get on there. It's just like, oh my gosh, how can I even be on this thing? And I didn't realize like that was like my first mental hurdle. The second one was I again, I'm not a diva type of person, but I feel like I was such a diva like behavior,
Mm.
and it was just like I'm not gonna put anything on there on my profile. I'm gonna put like zero effort, and I'm just gonna like basically look at all the guys' profile and the one that I like. I'm not gonna sit here and put you know who I am and da da da. And the reason I was afraid to put myself out there because I was afraid of getting dissected or somehow like my vulnerability or my person will basically be used against me. It's like
Mm.
you can't tell too much about yourself. Like it's all these cultural things that they say, because a guy can just use this against you. He'll just use that to catfish you into a relationship, and then somehow you're going to be, so it was all fear-based reactions. Actually, it was even a
Mm.
response situation. I didn't take this seriously at all, but I remember speaking to somebody, and it's actually a quote by Rumi that she said, she's like, what you're seeking is seeking you.
Mm.
So whoever is that you're wanting, you're wanting somebody who put effort in their profile. So if you guys are created in pairs, he sure as heck is going to want to go put effort in her profile too. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of guys. It's so interesting that like when you talk to them, they'll actually say like one of their biggest turnoff is somebody who doesn't put effort in their profile and they have some it comes off as a very standoffish attitude. Like you owe me an explanation, like I'm some kind of on a pedestal with either my cat or flower like profile picture. Like you just basically, you know what I mean? All you are is a user ID and a profile picture, and somehow we think like we're on a pedestal. It's like, yo, chill, you're literally on a computer chair, you know what I mean? Like, or your sofa or
Mm.
whatever. So it's just like I realized that for me it translated a different message. But for me it was actually, again, going back to that introspection, is that I was afraid. I was afraid of putting myself out there, and um and other components and other fears, because you want to do it right. Because here's the thing, and this is one of the issues that I brought up in the lines, is that, you know, you're raised a specific way, don't talk to guys, don't do this. That's something I'm supposed to find him too, because I was feeling salty about that too, you know, like, what the heck, like, I'm supposed to go find this guy too, like, what, like, why can't somebody just bring him to me, like, why do I have to do all the work, like, what the heck, like, what is my brother there for, like, just to look pretty with a beard, like, no, just, you know what I mean? So, it was just like I had to overcome, like I said, a lot of those like mental hurdles, and realize, like, how badly is it that I want this? I asked Allah first, so why am I not putting in the work? No one's gonna do it for me. Yeah, do I have certain rights? And those are certain responsibilities of certain family members, absolutely. But if they're not gonna do it, am I gonna do just sit here and be single forever? Like, what the heck? Like, so I said, like, you know, I'm single like a pringle, I'm ready to mingle. So let's do this. You know, I was halal style, right? So I had to overcome that a lot, you know, and you know what? What really helped was me tuning in, me bringing Allah into the equation. Because I'm like, Allah, like, this is a fear-based thing. Culturally, this is something that's considered, like, you know, cheapening your value. I'm like, but Islamically speaking, it's still a correct method, you know? Like, but there's this cultural component. But we're not here for the culture. We're here for what Allah said, right? So, you know, this is where a culture is making something halal is haram. You know, it's actually halal, but they're making it haram. It's like, you know, we make things difficult. We make things harder. So I just included Allah in every single step, and I noticed it actually facilitated it. It was kind of like my insurance policy, you know? I'm covered no matter what, you know? So
I love it.
Crash or anything, I'm covered, got full coverage. You know what I mean?
I love
if this
it.
guy's gonna screw me over or whatever, I'm just gonna do my part, and I'm gonna be straight up. I'm gonna be sincere. And I think it helped too when one of my friends was going through the process. She herself, it was a very different way. Like, we had two very different goals for what we were trying to go with. But, you know, for me, it was very conservative and stuff. But for her, she said something that still was, I'm like, oh, that's actually a pretty good point. She's like, you know, for me, she changed her mindset into, let me just get to know this person, you know? So I translated that into, like, okay, at the end of the day, this is a creation of Allah, right? Yeah. So why don't I just get to know this person? No pressure. The intention is, you know, marriage, but just get to know the individual, and, you know, put in that effort. And usually within a few conversations, you already kind of can tell if this person is for you or not. Yes. You know, some may seem like it's a great idea. You go on a little bit longer, but then you're like, okay, yeah, it's not feeling right. But you make us taught at every step of the way. Like I said, you don't take a lot of the equation. Like, he's literally in it in every single second. You know, like, every single moment you're talking to us. I was telling you about, like, I was saying on the live actually too, but I was like, so one of the things I did when I noticed that my tawakkul game was weak is I started calling myself out on it. Every single time I would have a fear-based thought, afraid something, like, my mind would go to, like, a negative, like, like, of all the negative things that could possibly happen, I started thinking about all the positive things that I want to happen, you know? So I just started reframing my mindset, and whenever I would have fear, I would go to Allah, be like, Ya Allah, logically, I know you have me. And emotionally, my tawakkul game, Shaitan's trying to hack me, you know? She's trying to hack my system. Like, I gotta build my firewall. So I call myself out. I'm like, Ya Allah, I know you are above this fear. I'm calling myself out. I tell Allah this fear. I'm like, and I know you know it, but I'm just telling you that I'm now aware that I'm having this thought and it's negative. But I know you're greater than that. I make istighfar, and I follow up with a good idea and a good thought of Allah, you know? And that's one thing to help you with, you know, getting close to Allah, is getting to know his names. Like, Sheikh Razazi, he did, like, Valley of the Seekers. I think I was, like, 15 or something, 15 or 16, but this guy changed my life, okay? Like, that course was amazing. One thing that he did was, like, as a challenge, that you would learn Allah's name, one of the names, and you would live with that name. So say it's Ar-Rahman, right? You would look for Allah Rahman in everything, in your surroundings. It could be a mother with her child. It could be, you know, somebody helping somebody else. You know, just like that merciful action. And you start noticing it. You're like, wow, I never noticed this. This is so, like, wow, you know. The next day is Allah, you know, Al-Razaq, you know, and you're like, wow, like, you see a person who's on the streets and somebody gave him $20 bill. You know, you're like, wow, like opens, like, this $20 is meant for him. You know what I mean? Like, so you start living with Allah's names every single day, and it really does change the way you look at the world, you know, and it does become a lot better, a lot rosier, you know, and you realize the world is a beautiful place. It's just the way you are looking at it. You just need to take off your prescription for your eyeglasses. It's just like, it's just making everything look horrible. And you need to get the right fit, you know. But yeah, like, it was just, you know, it really helped knowing that what I was afraid of was the unknown, you know. Not knowing how this will turn out, not knowing if this person will hurt me, not knowing what this person's intentions were. But you know what I did know? I know Allah, and He has knowledge of the unknown. So I knew having him in my corner, this is a two-way operation. He gave me the tools in this life and what I need to do to circumnavigate it. But the things are out of my control. They're out of my hands for a reason because they're in Allah's hands, you know? Like, he's the one. So usually when something is out of your control, even if it's a bad thing, just know that it's in the best hands. It's getting handled, you know? And so it's so important to be aware of that and to internalize that, because so one of the things I was like doing as an introspection exercise is, if let's say, Hannah, you and I were talking and you tell me, yo, this guy, like, let's say you found out that I was talking to somebody, right? Let's just say this is like rewind like 3-4 years ago, okay, when Shima was single, okay, and we're talking, okay, or better yet, let's just do it right now. Let's just say you and I are talking, you tell me, oh, Shima, I'm talking to this guy, you know, and he sounds really interesting, and he's this and this and this and this, okay, and I'm like, okay, who is he, you know, like, tell me about him, you know, I'm like, oh, this guy sounds great and whatever, and then you show me, I'm like, oh, actually, this person is not a good idea. What do you mean? Like, he's single, he's like never been married. I'm like, actually, he has been married, and the fact that he lied to you about that is actually incorrect. And the reason I know he was married because he was married to my friend, and I know he was actually a very abusive person. So what would you tell me? Would you be like, screw you, Shama? You'd be like, oh my God, no way, you didn't tell me. I didn't know this. And suddenly you would feel like so grateful to me.
Yes.
But did I not just tell you no about this guy? And I told you why. So the issue is, why is it that you are grateful to me and I'm just a human being, but when Allah says no, you're getting mad? You know, you even feel like you could trust me more now, like, because you would, like, I could trust you even more, Shima, because you had my back and you told me the truth. Yes. You didn't let me get screwed over by this person, right? And so you even feel even closer to me actually from that rejection, not away. So what if we took that and say, you know what, I do have the ability to get closer to Allah when I hear a no, because I do that with my friends. When they give me, it was I guess, an easier no to swallow. No, like, sometimes Allah doesn't give you the answer immediately as to why it's a no. Sometimes it shows up later on. You know, how is it that sometimes that you look back and you're like 3-4 years down the road and you see the guy that you had this crazy crush when you were in middle school or high school, and you're like, oh my God, how? Like, oh my God, swerve! Like, Allah hooked it up, you know? And then you're so grateful. Yeah. How many times? But you got your answer 5 years later, and then you were mad at Allah for all these things. Like, oh man, I've been wanting this person, and you're like, wow, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. But how, like, just listen, how Allah is so patient with all our, you know, emotional tantrums and strikes the answer. Like, and he didn't do that. Then he's literally, you know, how does and he tells you, like, I only want to purify and help you. I want Jannah for you. You know how many times? And it's like, SubhanAllah, like, it's just so incredible. Like, we just have to really take the time to know our Creator. It's so important. Like, you sit there and you take the time to, you know, whatever it is that you're passionate about, you take the time to study it and study everything that goes back to it, who made it and who invented, you know. But we don't sit there and try to study ourselves and study who created us and who made us, right? So I think it's just so, so important. Because if you can't even do that for yourself and take the time to know your Creator, how are you going to sit there and take the time to know your future spouse?
Yes. Oh my God, there's so many things that I love about what you said. And I just want to quickly talk about this whole concept of like tawakkul, because literally, like, you knew it. You knew that your tawakkul game was weak, and that was kind of something that was hindering you, and that was something that you had to overcome. And what you did is you literally put Allah into the equation. You knew that, you know, right now I'm having like some problems, like something is hindering me from attracting this person, and also from being the best version of yourself. Well, because to love is to know Allah, you know, and to trust Him. And, you know, it is so important to sometimes, you know, admit, you know, subhanAllah, I'm having some troubles trusting Allah, you know, and how can you unlearn that? And you have said that, you know, learn the names of Allah. Who is Allah? You know, because like, you cannot trust a random person. Can you just go like through the city and just be like to a random person, hey, can you just hold my bag? And like, you cannot, you know, you cannot just have this trust of just anybody. You have to invest in the relationship. You have to get to know them. It's not gonna come from, you know, just reading Quran once. It's not gonna come from praying. It has to come from literally sitting down and really putting effort in who is Allah, why can I trust him, and find all these like data, and when you did that, and when you created this consciousness and created this love for Allah, created this closeness, you just, you like the way you said it at the beginning, you just sometimes randomly start, jumping joy, because Allah, that, sometimes rejection doesn't mean, that it has something to do with you. It means that Allah loves you and that he's closing a door, but he is opening one that is much better for you, and
And not just that, I noticed in every delay of like not for it not to happen, it was actually a sign for me to go back to myself and learn something about myself. And it actually better prepared me for the person I was meant to be with. So every time you look at a rejection, ask yourself, okay, my goal is to get close to Allah. Allah got me to it. He's not letting me go through it. So there's something in here. Pause, reflect. What is it that Allah wants me to know and grow from? Yes. And I know number one is to get closer to him. So that's obviously the default. Like the default is to get closer to him. But what tool is he trying to teach me? Is it awareness about something? Is it that I had a pride about something? Everybody's either a lesson or a blessing. Mm-hmm. Think about it this way. And even a lesson is still a blessing. You know what I mean? So ask yourself, like, what is it that Allah is teaching you in that rejection? Something about yourself. He's trying to let you gain a quality or a skill so that you're better equipped for the actual person you're designed to be with.
Yes.
Right? It's just, but some of us, we're like, some people end up with the wrong person because they're just, they rather just settle than, it's very hard for them to be alone. We live in a world where it's very hard to be alone. Yeah, a lot of people feel alone, even in a crowd of people, So it's like, and what I mean, it's not alone in a very lonely way. People have a difficult time being comfortable with their own self. Like they're just not used to just being by themselves and getting to know themselves. It's just very hard for them. They rather just like get to know somebody else or whatever. But it's like if you can't even stand your own self, how someone can stand you? You know what I'm saying? Like you should be able to stand yourself. You should be okay with. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
It's so important. It's so critical.
100%. 100%. I mean, even like if you settle, for this person, you may feel alone in that relationship because you know what, a relationship doesn't mean that you're gonna hang around with him most of the time. I mean, there will be some time. I think there's this statement or this quote that says like, you have to be comfortable being alone with yourself in order to be with the person that you want to attract into your life. Because like when you are comfortably alone and you are literally living the best life, that is, you are living like your best life and you know what the best life looks like. This person who is gonna make your, gonna add to you and bring value to your life, with you are comfortable, you are living your best life, but this person will come to your life and bring more value to you. He will bring something that you may not, you didn't know that was missing, because you literally. Say that again.
And vice versa too. The girl too will add value.
Yes.
And I think that a lot of the problem nowadays is that we fall in love with potential. And, it's like a work in progress, if I can even say that. But the problem is, like, a lot of, there's like a quote that says, it's okay to be a masterpiece and a work in progress.
Yes, I love it.
The person's a work in progress, but not even a masterpiece. At least if they're a masterpiece, then you're like, you have something, valuable.
Yes.
And you go from that, So... yeah, so that's the thing. That's the issue, is that we fall in love with the idea, with the potential, and and that's just right there shows you the power of your imagination, the power of dream, power of making that dua and actually allowing yourself to get into there, because it is powerful. You end up imagining things, you end up believing what you created, and you want that so bad for that, but it's like you're doing that. with the wrong person. And so basically, the issue is you created this world, and now what was so hard of letting it go is because you attached feelings with this world that you created. So now it's so much harder to cut those strings, you know, because they're playing at your heartstrings. It's hard. It's really hard. And that's the thing. That's the thing about Shaitan, is that he tries to beautify haram. He tries to beautify the wrong thing. Like, his goal in life is to, like, mess you up. Real talk. Like, you know, because he's literally hopeless. He's the accursed. Like we say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Like, Shaitan is literally the accursed forever. He literally has no hope. And so the biggest thing that he wants to do with a believer, or, you know, someone who believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is to make them feel hopeless. And so what you're seeing is you give up on, you know, a lot of women bash men. Like, you bash them and you talk so nasty about them, and then you want this quality guy that you don't even believe what you're saying. So how about you unlearn all of that, learn to appreciate and respect a man, whatever he may be at in whatever state, and then perhaps then you would be ready to receive him. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
You sit there and complain about it like it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, and even when he's there, and it's like you won't even take him because something menial, you know, like, he could literally be a great, fantastic person. It's like, oh, but he doesn't make enough money. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? Yo, this guy could be a millionaire one day. You never know. And you could marry a millionaire and he'll be nothing next time, you know? So it's just like, you know, people don't put weight in the right thing, you know? I was talking about the diamond method to my dream duas, and that's what actually attributes value to a diamond are 4 things. They're called the 4 C's. It's clarity, so that's how clear the diamond looks. Color, the cut, which is actually, interestingly enough, 60% of the value of the diamond is the way it's cut. It actually just makes everything else perfect and flawless. And the last part is the carat. Carat is the weight. And sometimes, subhanAllah, people want a big diamond, okay? Huge, the bigger the better. And you know what? It's just full of inclusions. And inclusions are like, this diamond comes with these marks, internal marks. So you look at a diamond and it's huge, but it doesn't look that beautiful or anything because of all the things that's inside. But you're so like, but it's a diamond and it's so big. But it's like, this guy has a lot of baggage and a lot of bad inclusions. You need to just, you know? So the first thing is, like, for a diamond to be flawless, it could literally be half a carat, okay? And it might be worth more than a carat that has so many inclusions. You know what I mean? Because that carat, that's half a carat, half the weight of it, but it's perfectly flawless. It has no inclusions, or if there was an inclusion, the way the diamond is cut, it hides it. So it could be like everybody has some kind of flaws or some kind of thing, but sometimes it's hidden, but like, it's not as serious. It could be something like, I don't know, I can't think of an example right now, but something like that's like, you know, you can live with it. It's like, whatever. But, you know, we look at it that we're so focused on like the shininess and the bigness and oh my gosh, but we take away everything. So the first thing I would say is gain clarity. Clarity is number 1, because when you start including all these things, this cultural baggage, oh, my mom says he has to be like this, my dad says it has to be that, my society says it has to be like this with this type of thing, it has to be this, it has to be that, all these things you keep adding, you're going to have a clouded diamond. It's going to lose its prettiness, you know? It actually loses value. Even if it's a diamond, it's still not worth much. You know what I mean? So the thing is gain clarity, number 1. Number 2 is color. So imagine what that looks like. Add color to it, like in the sense of like, what does that envision it? You know, paint that picture. You know, and carat is the weight. So put the weight in the right. Like, don't go too big, but don't go too small. Like, sometimes with your dream, have the right weight for that vision, for that clarity, for that color. That diamond, everything goes into that. Is the way the weight is as well. And then the best part is the cut, how the diamond is shaped, how it's cut. So 60% of its value is there. So in order for it to be shaped that way and perfect, you have to cut out a lot of whatever. You know what I mean? You have like squares, you have opaques, you have different shaped diamonds, you have different colors. They come in different shapes, they come in different sizes. Everyone likes a specific way a diamond looks like. Maybe one likes it like a circle, one likes it as a square, like a princess cut. You know, one likes it as an emerald, and one may like it as an, marquise. Everyone likes their own shape, everyone likes their own color, but they can all be flawless diamonds because of their cut. How you cut it, how you literally shape that. So it's priceless. Now you have a diamond that's priceless. So it's just important to know that. You know, you take the time to learn that, to understand it, and I apply that as a metaphor for your dream spouse. Be it if you're a guy, you're looking for a woman, or if you're a girl looking for a guy, or if it's something that you're pursuing in your life. You know, same concept. You know what I mean? Stop having all these inclusions. They try to sell you on it by calling it nature's fingerprint, but nah, it's ugly. Like, you know what I mean? There's like, I can still see this little,
I love it. Oh my gosh. No.
It's like,
I know, and you said that's so beautiful, and I don't think I've ever heard this metaphor and like this whole concept of it, but it totally makes sense. And you were saying at the beginning that, be appreciative, like don't, whenever this guy comes around and there's like, one thing that you didn't even think about, open up your eyes and really make sure that you look at the way that you talk about that certain man, because I do see that a lot, that many girls and also men, they say like things like, there are not many men out there, there are not many good women out there. No, he like these words, they have weight, and whatever you put out the world, that is what is going to be manifested. So that is very
is what you believe in your head. Is constantly what you're going to see. Someone the other day said that, like whatever you search on Google or Facebook, the algorithm is set up and designed for you to constantly now see advertisement based on that. That's all you'll constantly see. But if, like for example, like I remember when I was going through the process of getting married, I'd get all these like advertisement for like self-help books related to marriage and love and this. And I was ready to like get married, look for wedding dresses. All I see is advertisement for dresses all the time. And then when I was going to have a baby, all I could see now was just baby ads all the time, everywhere. So it's so interesting. We use that to apply that to the algorithm of our brain. Whatever we're feeding is what we're going to constantly see everywhere and everywhere. Yes. So it's the same ideology. It's something that I saw actually on, I think it was a guy named Zeki, which he saw from a guy named Ace, but I kind of just put my own spin on it. But basically that was the message that was being delivered, is that like, kind of really work on that mental, like your thought process. And it literally, it's like, how do I change that? It starts by you being aware that you have that problem. Because, you ask a lot like, oh, I want to get closer to you. It's like, okay, well, the first person to acknowledge the fact that you got a problem, that you're not close to him. And by doing that is you got to be ready to take a lot of hard, truth pills, because they're going to be hard to swallow. But guess what? You got to swallow it anyways. Because that's the thing about medicine, is that you may not like it going down, but it's going to do a lot of healing. So you just got to honestly take it in, reflect, and ask yourself, where can I improve? I have this problem, and it's now stopping me from getting closer to Allah. So you just gotta keep changing that, and do it for the sake of Allah. Because whatever you give up something for the sake of Allah, Allah will pick something better. So same thing. Even if it's a guy, it's like, oh, but he's so amazing. He might be the most amazing person. He's not abusive. He's not. But guess what? He's not Muslim. And subhanAllah, it's in the Quran too, where Allah says, don't go with both guy and girl. Don't go with somebody who's not a believer, even if you like them, because a person who has belief will have more value. It's so important. We look at the short-term goal right now. Oh, but he doesn't care. He's totally cool with me raising my kids Muslim. Okay, cool. But what if suddenly 5 to 10 years down the road he decides to be a hardcore practicing Christian? Suddenly that's his thing. And he's like, oh, I used to be a jahil before, and now I want to take my Christian life seriously, and whatever thing, or whatever else. How do you know? How's that a guarantee? Right? So it's just so important to do everything for the sake of Allah. That's your insurance policy. When you do everything for the sake of Allah, even if that person's going to screw you over in anything, Allah's got you. You know what I mean? He got you too, and he'll get you through it. You know what I mean? Whenever any prophet was faced with a hopeless situation, subhanAllah, like with Nuh alayhi salam, there was a massive flood, you know, and Allah, inspired him to build that ark and told him how to do it, and he got him over the sea, like over that flood. Okay, with Musa alayhi salam, he split the sea for him. We had to choose between 2,000. Guess what? Like, the ones that were saying all these horrible, Pharaoh was saying all these horrible things, and I'm Rabbukum al-A'la, and all, now that all their voices got drowned out. So that's the thing. When you're on the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like Allah will split the sea for you, and He will drown out all the noises as long as you're willing to take His path and believe in His message and pursue that. That will be the case. And even if it's something like Yunus alayhi salam, where he gave up on his people, and that wasn't his job was to still persevere despite all the oppression he received, and he gave up, he lost hope in them. And what did Allah do? He put him in the most hopeless situation. 3 darknesses: the darkness of the night, darkness of the sea, and darkness of the whale. And in that moment, like, honestly, if you think about it, what's more, like, unhopeful? One day that they might change, or how you're going to get out of this situation that you're in. SubhanAllah, like, the lesson was for him to not lose hope in Allah, knowing that whatever you're about to do, yes, you may have the sincerest intention to actually, give dawah to your people, and they've done all these horrendous things, but you don't take me out of the equation. Allah is always in the equation no matter what. With Nuh alayhi salam, 950 years, day and night, until Allah told him that they're never going to change. And then the great flood happened. Allah told him. He didn't give up. Allah told him. And Allah got him, not only through the flood. He knew there was a flood. He could have dipped. He'd be like, all right, do this, guys. There's a flood coming and I'm out. No. Allah told him to stick it out. Even though he was even through building that, he was still warning people of what was to come. They still had a chance. Allah still giving them a chance even at that moment. But they weren't going to change. They tried to use, his own son tried to use logic. I'll climb the largest mountain. There's no way water's going to go there. But he still drowned, because he tried to apply logic to something that Allah literally is in control of everything. He will literally he has to bring a flood that will literally submerge a mountain. Like, that is insane. No wonder it's called the Great Flood. You know what I mean? Like, so it could be like Musa said, where he lost hope, but in that moment, what did he do? In that darkness, in that moment, he made tawbah to Allah. He turned back to Allah so much so that dua is so powerful. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minadh dhalimin. He took responsibility for his part in the problem. Even though he was victimized in that situation and he was trying his best, he still took responsibility because he gave up. And in doing that, you took a lot of the equation, And so what I'm trying to say is that for the person out there who's like, man, I've been feeling depressed, I've been feeling so low, and you got, whatever, you're stuck in this darkness, just remember that Allah can get you out of that darkness. And it's okay. You're a human being. Yes, you gave up hope. Yeah, you messed up. And it's okay. We've all been there. I've been there. We've all been there. But Allah is the most merciful. He's the most forgiving. And he made tawbah, and Allah got him out of it. And when he returned back to his people, they were all believers. So it's so important to know that, like, even Surah Al-Duha is a surah of hope, where Prophet didn't get wahi for 6 months. He didn't get any revelation. And what does Allah say? What duha, which is the break of dawn. Walayli idha saja, the night, right, that went by. Like, after nighttime, there will always be daybreak.
Yes.
So sometimes in the year, like the summer, the nights are really short. The darkness is just short. And then sometimes the winters, the nights are really long. And it's seasonal. You know that it'll be spring again, or it'll be summer again. It's going to be short again. It's not going to be as dark, or it's not going to be as thing. So just look at whatever it is that you're going through. It's a season. It's just something. It's just, you're going through it to learn, to grow, and then dip. Once it teaches you and you learn, khalas, you're moving forward. Yeah, and then you might be good for a little bit, and then maybe something else hits, and then there's something else you need to learn from it. But you got to constantly self-regulate, because you're about to get hit. The flood is coming. Start building your boat. Start building your firewall. Start building your whatever you got to know. And so then now when it hits you, okay, but I got Allah with me through the good times and through the bad. So if you got me to it, He'll get me through it. So it's just important to note that when it comes to your spouse, that person, that spouse that you want to manifest, also not going to manifest it for you. You just have to change your vision and how you look at things with perspective, because you're not going to see it when you're just too busy looking. Oh, I'm just looking around. Oh, we'll just look and see where it goes. How about you say you see where it goes? We actually put in the effort. And I want to see how it goes by doing these things. We're always half foot in, half foot out. We're just always ready to leave.
Yes.
And that's not, and but it's interesting because you don't want somebody to do that to you.
No.
You want somebody to go all in. You know, if your mom was half in and half out of your life, it would be very painful. But your mom's all in through good and bad, through up and down, right? So that's the kind of, whatever you put out there is what you're gonna receive.
Right.
If you want to, if somebody that's loyal, you gotta be loyal. You want somebody that's honest, you gotta be honest. You know, you want someone transparent, you gotta be transparent. You know, you want someone who's willing to put in the work, you need to be ready to pull up your sleeve and put in that work. You know, you have to reflect that. It has to mirror. You know, because your spouse will be a reflection of you. Like, it's just facts. You know. So
I love it so much. You know, it's true, you know, and we, subhanAllah, now when I kind of like look back at where we started, we talked about, you know, dreaming, you know, visualize who you want to have and know that, you know, for Allah, it is not hard. For him, it's kun fayakun and it is there. You have to really believe that for Allah, it is super easy to bring whatever you're visualizing. So whatever you like visualize, your dream husband, your dream life, whatever, be really free. Do not restrict yourself, you know, go all in. But first of all, you have to look inside. Like, who are you, first of all, before you even start visualizing? Because it could be that you are visualizing something that is not in accordance to your values. It is not in accordance to your vision. So before you start dreaming, look inward, okay, and find out who you are. And then start visualizing, start dreaming, go really wild. And then we talked about the second step. It is about doing your part. It is about like really getting over those like mental hurdles and like really figuring out like, okay, what is my problem? Okay, I need to, you know, really seek for forgiveness because because we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect, you know. And I love that story that you told about like Yunus alayhi salam. I love this dua. I love it so much, and it shows us so much because seek forgiveness and really, you know, look at Allah and praise him, and also at the same time while praising Allah, you know, admit your faults, admit your shortcomings, because surely we're not perfect and nobody's perfect, and Allah knows that, and he loves those who seek forgiveness. So make that a habit, you know. Don't just make that like something that you do when you know you messed up, but literally make that a habit whenever you're standing, whenever you're sleeping, whenever you're walking. Seek forgiveness, because you know seeking forgiveness has many values. Not that just Allah loves it, but you know it also makes you rich. It also, you know, kind of clears your vision. All of a sudden you see things that you may have not seen, you know, and because surely we're not perfect. And now I want to talk about this whole concept of dua, because you know the moment that I cried when I watched your Instagram live was when you said that, you know, the day that you literally, you know, got married your husband, your dream husband, Allahuma barik, may Allah bless you, bless your marriage. You literally hold his hand, and then you said, I was holding my dua. So tell us yes, you were holding his face and said, I am holding my dua. So tell us about like what kind of part dua had in your journey.
Dua had everything to do with it, because I called out to Allah, and Allah says أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعا إذا سألك عبادي عني فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعا. Allah says in the Quran that, you know, he talks to Prophet Muhammad about, you know, when my slave asks about me, automatically he goes from talking to Prophet to talking to us, you know, saying that I am near, you know, ready to answer. And the answer was there before the call itself, which means he's ready to accept it. You know, I read once that like whatever it is that Allah inspires you to think of to make that dua is because he wants to grant it, you know. And that's so powerful, so humbling. So I remember like there was many du'as that I made, but one of the ones that like really hit deep is, you know, praying in the middle of the night with tears and saying, oh Allah, like this is like a serious fitna, you know. I'm like, you're at Hay, you literally get shy. Like when your slave raises their hands to you and you bring it back empty. Like I remember saying those exact words many times, and as like you're the one that says that whoever comes to you walking, you come to them running. I'm not even walking at this point. Okay, I'm like sprinting to you. I'm like you're the one that says that you answer the dua of the person if they ask. And I was like, and you say that the promise of Allah is always true. I was like, so please just I tap out. I plead mercy. Like I'm done. Like I don't want this to be a test that's gonna be like it's hard. I am praying to you from at this point what feels like desperation. I'd like to pray to you from a position where I'm holding it and I'm so grateful. It's such a different feeling. And I remember just like specifically making this dua to Allah saying like you don't like I don't raise my hand, I'm your slave, and I say I believe in you and you're gonna bring it back empty. That's just like you're too shy. So what hit me was when my husband and I were sitting across from each other, I realized I was actually facing the Qibla, which is usually where I always sat on my bed, and I just always looked in that direction. We were at the edge of it. And I remember we were talking and stuff, and then I just was just like, I just grabbed his face, like a part of it was just kind of like, oh my God, is this for real? But then it hit me in that moment as I raised his hand. I'm like, oh my God, like, and it, like, I'm even right now, as I'm thinking about it, it makes me so emotional, but, like, it's, like, so deep because I called Allah out. I said, you are shy. When your servant raises their hands, you're going to bring it back down empty. And now, Allah just showed me that I'm now holding my husband in my hand, like a dua itself, in the exact same room that I begged Allah. On the opposite side of Canada. Like, and I was actually planning on moving, so I never thought in my life he would ever come and visit me. Like in the city that I was living in at the time, because we got married in where my mom lives, my family lives. So it was so powerful for me because he actually helped me. He flew out to help me move, and that moment was so powerful for me because it was that realization that I realized my dog got accepted because I'm like, oh my God, I'm married. I can't believe it. But it was like a different hit when it's like, you remember the specific wording you said, It's such an emotional and intimate moment where you were so vulnerable with Allah. You really just aired it all out there for him. You were just straight up like, I put all my cards, this is all of me, and Allah literally just did that. It was so like, it hit me so deep. That moment, you know what I mean? Because imagine telling Allah like you're al-Hayy, you're the one who's like shy, like if your servant raises their hands, like this is Hadith Qudsi, and it's like, how do you bring back your servant's hands empty? And I've been begging you for years and years. At that point, it was like probably close to a decade, you know what I mean? And so it's just like kind of like, when does this happen? And that's why it was so emotional for me. And suddenly I went from like, being a little goofball to like actually like, it's just like tears, it just really humbled me. I couldn't believe it, and I hope everyone who's listening in, I really pray that you have that moment where you were vulnerable with Allah, you were straight up with Allah, you were so sincere with Allah, and you said to Allah, there's no way, like I'm going to pray to you in the middle of the night where everybody else is sleeping, and I'm here because you knew I was going to do this. You knew I was going to make and ask for this. So there's no way you're not going to answer. Because you always, your emoji, one of your names is the one who answers. And it's, and with an affirmative. So yeah, I just pray that everybody has that moment, be it your wife or be it your husband, and you get to hold their face like a dua, and then, remember that that's what you pray for, and not just that, but continue to treat your spouse like they're the dua that you prayed for, because sometimes, like, you think of your mom or your dad, think of your mom, I'm not giving my son away, but the dad's like, I'm not giving my daughter away, she's too valuable, she's too precious, what do you have to offer? So sometimes Allah, He's not going to give away. If Allah loves you more than your own mom, that's his abd too. That person's also making dua to Allah. So for him to match you to that person, understand that both of you have to have some kind of work. He's just not going to give you something just like that. You got to work for it. You have to earn it. You have to do your part. And that person's got to do their part. It's a two-way street. And Allah's going to be like literally the ultimate matchmaker. He's going to put you guys together, In my case, like, when I think about it, I'm like 10 years of making this dot or whatever. Like my husband was even a Muslim. No way. Like it was gonna happen at that time. He had to do a lot of work. I had a lot of growing up to do too, and learning as well, right? So yeah, actually one of the mental hurdles, sorry, I just remembered, is age difference. I always thought I'd marry somebody who was older. I never thought I would marry someone who was younger than me, about 2 years younger. But like for me, or else like there's a story about that.
Yeah.
But that was one of the other. But sometimes you literally, I even know somebody right now, like recently, and I know like how badly they've been wanting to get married. It's actually a brother. And literally everything he ever said he wanted in a girl, I literally found this person. Okay, even the same culture, very educated, takes her seriously. The only difference is that she's 4 years older, and because of that, it's like no. Literally, even the family comes from a noble family. She's a pious person. She's righteous. She's a doctor. Like everything you can think of. You know, she's somebody that's very loyal. She's this, and it's like. Even just the fact, oh, she's just too naive. She doesn't know how to talk to guys. It's like, that's not what you want. Like, in this world where you want to complete, like, what the heck? How is her being righteous about me? And, you know, I actually told her straight up, these were the things that were being said. And then she's like, oh, I really appreciate you being straight up. I'm like, you know what? I want you to right now to take what I said and take it to the prayer mat and tell Allah, I'm being rejected for being on your path. Like, she's about to be 34 or 35. She's 34. She's about to be 35 in September. And I said, I'm like, imagine being righteous and on the path for this long. And you don't waver, you don't this, you know? And you do everything right. And then you're getting punished for it because now you're age. Something that you can't even hold. You know what I mean? I mean, the fact that you were able to be that loyal for 35 years, like, you know what I mean? Almost 35, but like, you know, you didn't date, you were focused, you took care of your family, like, she's family oriented, she takes care of her family, like, she's, you know what I mean, like, she made something out of herself, she cares for the elderly, so she even said, like, you know, I used to have the same idea too, but then she used to take care of elderly people, and she told me this crazy story about how this man and this woman, when he was 60, she told him that she was 5 or 6 years older, but then he found out, like, I think 20 years later, or something like that, 20 or 30 years they were married, that actually she was 15 years older. And she found out that she's actually 15 years older, not 6 years. And what was so crazy, the people, she asked him, she's like, are you mad that you found out she lied to you? He's like, no. He's like, I loved her. He's like, and maybe had she done that, I would have experienced the love that she had to offer for all these years.
Subhanallah.
You know? That age thing would have blocked, you know? And that's at 60, the guy got remarried. Like, how crazy was that? Right? So I was like, dang, like, you know what I mean? Even at 60, this guy, like, he was willing to receive it. And yeah, maybe she faked it. Maybe she saw that. I don't know. But I don't know what her standards were. We won't know, right? But that story hit me so deep. And I'm like, but she's like, that's what changed me. And I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, the fact that you opened up your mind and you're already right now waiting to receive, and you don't even care anymore about culture and all these things that come from, you know, from a culture that is really important, you are ready to receive this person. There's no way, you know? And so, you know, it just was incredible, you know? So I think that's another big mental hurdle. We have all these, for some reason, we find some kind of security in this idea of in age, or if this, we don't look at other things that hold more, they hold more sustenance. You know what I mean? And actually, one more thing I want to say. One of the best advice that was given to me, and actually every one of you, including myself, I was in that boat as well, it's responsible for something. When you choose your spouse, no one ever looks at that spouse as a future parent. Because the first haq, the first right your unborn child has on you is who you chose as their father or as their mother.
Yes.
You know? And it's just so important to know that this person is someone that you would trust with something as valuable as your own child. You know? So, and vice versa, because it goes both ways, right? So, it's just super crucial. So ask yourself, when you look at that, you're looking at things long term. You know, you're not looking just for a partner, you're looking for a partner in everything. You know, through literally sickness and in health, through good and bad, you know. This is the goal. You know, we all, I think, like the idea of it, but the reality is we don't work towards that. And that means we actually have to dig deep and actually pull in our weight, you know. So,
wow, mashallah, Allahuma barik. You said so many valuable things, and I think like this is not the last time you're on this podcast for sure. But I really loved and enjoyed talking to you. Like we've talked about dreaming, we've talked about like the importance of dua and also doing your part. And I think subhanallah, on that path to, manifesting that dream husband and that dream spouse is really overcoming a lot of mental hurdles. It is it is a journey, and I think it doesn't really end when attracting him. It also starts when you found him, to keep working and to keep, having having this bliss, it's all work. So dream, dua, and do. So I really, really enjoy talking to you. But before before we leave and before you, it is, I think, 2 a.m. in Canada right now. Oh my God. What is the message that you want to leave on this earth?
Oh my gosh. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of who you are and who you're meant to be. Be ready to reject your old you. Be ready to kill the parts of you, like destroy the parts of you that aren't going to further serve you. You also need to reject yourself on some of the bad things. That's number one. Number two, own your identity. It's like the legacy I want to leave is through storytelling. It's to empower and elevate voices. But the most important thing is to spread the message of Islam, the true message of Islam. And everyone has a story and their relationship with that. Their relationship with Islam, because Islam is a message that's been sent and it's worldwide, it's practiced worldwide, but subhanAllah is what unites us all. So how does Islam play a part in your life? How did it influence your life? What's your story? What did Islam teach you? And I guess my treasure hunt is as a writer, as a future author, as a publisher, as someone who is now a book coach, a book consultant. My hunt is to travel the world and to extrapolate, dig deep. You people go mine for diamonds. I'm mining for true stories that could be preserved for many generations to come. That's my journey. That's going to be, inshallah, my legacy. And because in those stories, Allah is always there. So it's just another opportunity for me to get to know Allah through somebody else's eyes, and through their experience. And so what better way to get to know him and get closer to him through that than that? So, yeah.
Oh my God, that was so beautiful. May Allah put so much barakah in all of your endeavors. May He give you the strength to share your stories and inspire so many. Allahuma ameen. I know that you'll be successful, inshallah. I thank you so much for being up here and sharing your story. And yes,
Thank you for inviting me. Honestly, this was amazing.
Thank you.
There's a few times I have to hold back tears. I was like, man, this girl.
Allahumma. Listen, this is not the last time, but now I'll let you go because it's very, very late and you probably want to sleep. So, assalamu alaikum, Shaima, and thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, Dream.Dua.Do'ler, thank you so much for listening. It means so much to me that you took out this time. If this episode, touched your heart or inspired you in some way, make sure to leave me a comment and a review, and don't forget to subscribe. It makes such a difference. Take a quick second to share this podcast on social media with others who could, really benefit from it, or somebody who needs to hear today's message. And don't forget to tag me so I can thank you in real time and connect with you. And if you want to give me some suggestions or idea for somebody who I really need to interview, leave me a comment, and I'm looking forward to dreaming, making dua, and doing amazing things with you. Assalamu alaikum.